Commander Jake Morrison stood in the center of the massive council chamber and tried not to show his nervousness. Around him sat representatives from 47 different alien species. Some had multiple eyes. Some had scales. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of what appeared to be living crystal. All of them were watching him with expressions that ranged from boredom to barely hidden amusement. Jake wore his best dress uniform, but it felt too tight under the weight of all those staring eyes. He had been preparing this presentation for 3 months. Earth's entire future in the galactic community depended on the next hour. He took a deep breath and continued his speech. The holographic display behind him showed Earth's proposed defense strategy. It was different from what the other species used. Very different. While most galactic civilizations built massive ships with powerful shields and stayed in one place to fight, Earth's plan focused on movement and tricks. Small, fast ships that could appear and disappear, fake signals to confuse enemies, constant repositioning to avoid getting hit. Ambassador Vexlar was the first to speak. He was from the Korthian Empire and looked like a massive praying mantis covered in shiny black armor. When he laughed, his mandibles clicked together in a sound that made Jake's skin crawl. "You call this a defense strategy?" Vexlar said. His voice came through the translation device as smooth and mocking. "This is what humans consider tactical planning?" Jake kept his face neutral. He had expected this reaction, but it still stung. He advanced to the next slide. "Our doctrine is based on being unpredictable," Jake explained. "We use small vessels that can move quickly. We create false sensor readings to confuse enemy targeting. We never stay in one place long enough for the enemy to lock onto us." "You mean hiding," said Council Prime Selector Yara then. She was a being made entirely of crystal, and her voice sounded like wind chimes. When she moved, light reflected off her body in rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. "What you describe is simply hiding, Commander Morrison. The Vrexian Compact does not negotiate with cowards. They do not respect species who run away. The Vrexians were the reason Earth needed the Council's protection in the first place. For the past 10 years, the Vrexian Compact had been conquering smaller civilizations. They had destroyed 3 species completely and forced 2 others to become slaves. Earth had applied to join the Galactic Security Council, hoping for protection. But now Jake was learning that protection came with strings attached. The Council wanted Earth to fight like they fought. Big ships, face-to-face battles, shield against shield until one side broke. "With respect, Selector, we are not running away. We are being intelligent about how we fight," Jake said. His finger swiped to show images from Earth's military history. "This approach has worked for humanity for thousands of years. We have won wars using these tactics." Ambassador Krell stood up from his seat. He was a Zentari, which meant he had 4 arms and stood nearly 3 meters tall. His species were known as warriors throughout the galaxy. His voice was deep and rumbling like an earthquake. "You won wars against other humans on one primitive planet," Krell said. "That means nothing here. The Vrexians have 300 Dreadnought-class warships. Each one of those ships could destroy your entire planet. You cannot hide from that kind of power." Lieutenant Amy Barnes stepped forward to stand beside Jake. She was his second in command and had been helping prepare this presentation. She was braver than Jake in moments like this. "That is exactly why we should not fight them the way they expect us to fight," Amy said clearly. "If we try to match their strength with strength, we will lose every single time. But if we use tactics they do not understand, tactics they cannot predict, then we have a chance." "The Council has existed for 18,000 years," Vexlar said. His mandibles clicked in what might have been irritation. "We have survived that long because we use methods that work. Methods that have been tested and proven. Your species has barely been in space for 100 years. Perhaps you should learn from those who came before you instead of assuming you know better." More alien voices joined in, creating a chorus of agreement. The Council members all seemed to think the same way. There was a right way to fight wars and a wrong way. The right way was their way. Everything else was just primitive foolishness from a species too young to understand how the galaxy really worked. Selector Yara then raised one crystalline arm, and the entire chamber fell silent instantly. When the Council Prime Selector wanted quiet, she got it. "Commander Morrison, the Council appreciates that Earth is enthusiastic about joining our organization," Yara then said. Her voice was formal and final. "However, your proposed tactics are not compatible with our defense protocols. They do not fit with how we operate. If Earth truly wishes to receive Council protection, you must integrate your fleet with our standard formations. You must adopt our approved weapon systems. You must follow our methods. The Council will vote on Earth's membership application in one standard cycle. That is all. Jake opened his mouth to argue, but Yaradhen's gesture left no room for discussion. The session was over, finished. The decision had been made. As the human delegation walked out of the chamber, Jake caught the eye of Admiral Helen Carter. She was Earth's highest-ranking military officer assigned to the Council. Her face showed no emotion, but Jake could see the tension in her jaw. "They are not going to approve us, are they?" Amy asked quietly once they were in the corridor outside. "No," Admiral Carter replied. Her voice was flat and certain. "They have already decided. And the Vrexians know it. I give us 2 months before the Vrexians attack our outer colonies. Maybe less." Jake felt his hands curl into fists. Earth had spent decades preparing for this moment. Humanity had worked so hard to be worthy of joining the galactic community. Everyone had hoped that Council membership would mean safety and security. Instead, they had learned a bitter truth. The Council only respected strength, but they only recognized strength when it looked like their own strength. If you did not fight their way, you were not worth protecting. "What do we do now?" Amy asked. She looked worried and frustrated at the same time. Admiral Carter's expression hardened. Her eyes took on a determined look that Jake had seen before. It was the look of someone who had made a difficult decision. "We do what humans have always done best," Carter said. "We improvise, we adapt, we find another way. The Council thinks they know everything about warfare. The Vrexians think they are unbeatable. Let them think that. While they are laughing at us, we will be preparing, and when the time comes, we will show them that there is more than one way to win a war." Jake nodded slowly. The Admiral was right. Humanity had always been good at surviving against impossible odds. Earth had faced extinction before and found ways to continue. This would be no different. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humans was a serious mistake. They just did not know it yet. 6 weeks passed after the Council meeting, and then the Vrexians made their move. The attack started at the Kepler 442 colony, which was a mining settlement on the edge of human space. 12,000 civilians lived there, working in the mineral extraction facilities and raising their families far from Earth. It was a peaceful place where children played in the domed habitats and workers came home, tired but satisfied with their day's labor. That peace ended when 3 Vrexian dreadnoughts appeared. At the edge of the star system, Captain Ryan Phillips was on the bridge of the UES Defiant when the warning came through. The Defiant was one of Earth's newest frigates. It was small by galactic standards, only 200 meters from bow to stern, but it was fast and packed with technology that Council engineers had dismissed as interesting but useless. "They are not even trying to hide their approach," muttered Lieutenant Brandon Cole from the tactical station. He was watching the sensor displays with a mixture of concern and disbelief. "This is textbook Vrexian doctrine. Jump into the system, demand surrender, start shooting when the colonists refuse. They know we cannot match them ship for ship." Ryan studied his own displays and felt his stomach tighten. Each of those dreadnoughts was over 2 kilometers long. They bristled with plasma cannons that could melt through hull armor like butter. Their shields could absorb more damage than Earth's entire fleet could dish out. The Council had warned Earth that fighting the Vrexians directly was suicide. Their advice had been simple and brutal. Abandon the outer colonies. Pull everyone back to Earth. Concentrate all defenses around the home world and hope the Vrexians got bored before they decided to attack there too. Admiral Carter had different ideas. "All ships. This is Defiant Actual," Ryan said into the fleet communication channel. "Execute Protocol Phantom immediately." All across the Kepler 442 system, 23 human vessels suddenly came to life. They had been hiding in the asteroid field with their power systems turned down to almost nothing. To enemy sensors, they had looked like just more space rocks drifting in the endless dark. Now they powered up and began their work, but they did not charge forward to attack. That would have been suicide. Instead, they began broadcasting. Within seconds, something strange appeared on the Vrexian sensor displays. Where there had been 23 human ships, now there appeared to be 230. Each human vessel had deployed a network of sophisticated decoy drones. Each drone was programmed to send out the exact same sensor signature as a real warship. The drones scattered in patterns that looked random, but were actually carefully calculated to create maximum confusion. Aboard the Vrexian dreadnought Inexorable, The sensor officer stared at his displays in confusion. "Commander Zarvex, we are reading multiple hostile contacts," the officer reported. His voice carried a note of uncertainty. "I count 200 vessels. No, wait, 250 now. The numbers keep changing. Composition is unknown." Commander Zarvex was a veteran warrior who had led 15 successful campaigns for the Vrexian Compact. He felt a small twinge of uncertainty creep into his mind. Intelligence reports had said the humans only had about 30 ships in this entire sector. Had Earth been hiding the true size of their fleet? Were there secret shipyards somewhere that the Compact did not know about? "Time to weapons range?" Zarvex asked. 40 seconds, Commander." Zarvex hesitated. Every instinct told him something was wrong. But he had his orders from the Compact High Command. Earth's colonies were to be taken or destroyed. The humans needed to learn that defying the Vrexian Compact had consequences. "All ships will open fire when in range," Zarvex ordered. "Target the largest concentrations of enemy vessels first." The 3 massive dreadnoughts unleashed devastating volleys of plasma fire. The space between them and the human fleet lit up with brilliant explosions. Dozens of the human contacts vanished from the sensors. The Vrexian crews cheered at their apparent success. Then the situation got strange. "Commander, we have a problem," the sensor officer said. His voice was no longer uncertain. Now it was worried. "The destroyed vessels are not registering any debris, and several targets that we hit directly are still showing on our screens." Zarvex felt his blood run cold. He understood immediately what was happening. "Decoys," he said. "They are using decoys to fool our sensors. Find the real ships." "We are trying, Commander, but there is too much interference. We cannot tell which contacts are real and which are false." Before Zarvex could respond, the real attack began. The actual human ships had used the chaos and confusion to maneuver into unexpected positions. They were not trying to fight the dreadnoughts head-on. That would have been pointless. Instead, they launched swarms of missiles, but not at the capital ships themselves. The missiles targeted the edges of the Vrexian formation and detonated in specific patterns. They were not particularly powerful by galactic standards. They did not need to be. Each missile created clouds of high-velocity fragments and electromagnetic interference that made sensor readings impossible. "Commander, we have lost targeting locks on 90% of all contacts," the tactical officer reported. "Too much debris and interference. We cannot see through it." "Then clear it out," Zarvex ordered. "Use the point defense systems to destroy the debris." "Commander, that will take hours. Maybe days. There are millions of fragments out there now." Zarvex felt genuine concern for the first time in years. His massive warships were designed to fight other massive warships in straightforward battles. Big ships stood still and pounded each other with heavy weapons until one side's shields failed. This swarm of small vessels, this cloud of deception and confusion, this was completely outside his training. Nothing in the Vrexian tactical manuals covered this situation. "Contact the other dreadnoughts," Zarvex ordered. "Reform the fleet into defensive formation. We will proceed with the orbital bombardment of the colony and deal with these ships afterward." But when the Vrexian ships tried to move into position to attack the colony, they found their path blocked. More decoys appeared. More debris fields materialized. More electromagnetic interference made targeting impossible. Every time the dreadnoughts tried to get a weapons lock on the colony, human ships would pop up from unexpected angles, launch another wave of missiles, and disappear back into the chaos they had created. Hours dragged by. The Vrexians destroyed hundreds of targets, but their ammunition stores were getting low. They seemed no closer to actually hitting any real human ships or reaching the colony. Worse, missiles capable of hyperspace jumps began appearing from completely unexpected directions. These forced the dreadnoughts to maneuver constantly, burning fuel at an alarming rate just to avoid being hit. After 16 hours of mounting frustration, Commander Zarvex made a decision he had never made before in his entire military career. "All ships, withdraw to hyperspace rally point Beta," he ordered. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "We will request reinforcements and resupply before resuming the assault." The 3 massive dreadnoughts jumped out of the system, leaving the human colony untouched. Aboard the battered human frigates, tired crews allowed themselves a moment of celebration. They had not won a glorious victory. They had not destroyed the enemy fleet, but they had done something perhaps more important. They had made the mighty Vrexian Compact retreat. They had made an enemy that everyone feared turn around and run away. And across the galaxy, people were going to hear about it. News of the battle at Kepler 442 spread across the galactic network like wildfire. Within days, every species in the known galaxy had heard the story. The mighty Vrexian compact had attacked a human colony with 3 dreadnoughts and been forced to retreat, without firing a single shot at the planet itself. Some species found it amusing. Others found it concerning. The Galactic Security Council found it unacceptable. The emergency session was called within a week of the battle. Jake Morrison found himself standing in the petitioner's circle again. This time Admiral Helen Carter stood beside him. The Admiral's face showed no sign of regret or apology. She stood with her shoulders back and her chin up like a soldier who had done her duty and would not apologize for it. Ambassador Vexlar was the first to speak, and his voice was harsh with anger. Reckless and dishonorable, the Corthian declared. His mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. The humans provoked a superior force and then refused to engage in proper combat. They made a mockery of established warfare protocols. They have shown contempt for thousands of years of civilized military tradition. Admiral Carter did not flinch under the accusations. When she spoke, her voice was calm and steady. We defended our civilians, Carter stated flatly. The Vrexians attacked a peaceful mining colony without any provocation or warning beyond a 1-hour deadline. We responded to protect innocent lives. That is what any responsible military does. You responded by employing deception tactics that violate the interstellar warfare conventions, Selector Yara then said. Her crystalline form pulsed with colors that the human translation software identified as severe disapproval. The use of false sensor signatures to mislead enemy forces is explicitly prohibited under Article 7 of the conventions. What you did was illegal under galactic law. Carter met the Selector's gaze without backing down. With all due respect, Selector, Earth never signed the Interstellar Warfare Conventions, Carter replied. We are not members of this council. We cannot violate agreements that we are not party to. You cannot hold us to laws we never agreed to follow. The chamber erupted in chaos. Clicking mandibles, humming crystals, guttural growls, and whistles filled the air. Every species seemed to be expressing displeasure in their own unique way. The noise was overwhelming, and Jake had to resist the urge to cover his ears. Council Prime Ralgeth raised one webbed hand and the chamber fell silent. Ralgeth was a Thalassian, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His people had founded the council 8,000 years ago. His large dark eyes studied the humans with an expression that might have been curiosity mixed with concern. Admiral Carter, you make a point that is technically correct, Ralgeth said. His voice was deep and carried the weight of centuries. However, you must understand our concern. The conventions were established to prevent warfare from descending into complete chaos. Deception breeds mistrust between civilizations. Mistrust breeds escalation and paranoia. Escalation leads to total war. This is how galactic wars begin. This is how entire species get wiped out. Carter nodded to show she understood, but her expression did not change. Or deception prevents wars from happening at all, Carter countered. The Vrexians outnumber us 100 to 1. If we fight them according to your rules and conventions, we lose every single time. We lose our ships, we lose our colonies, we lose our people. You are asking us to commit suicide for the sake of making our battles look proper and civilized. That is not acceptable. Ambassador Krell, the massive four-armed Zentari warrior, slammed one fist on his podium. The sound echoed through the chamber like a gunshot. We are asking you to conduct yourselves with honor, Krell growled. The strong survive in this galaxy. The weak must adapt to our ways or they perish. This has been the way of things for thousands of years. This is natural law. Then I suppose we are adapting, Carter said. We are just not adapting in the way you expected or wanted. We are adapting to survive, not to satisfy your sense of honor. Jake could see they were losing this argument. The council was completely unified in their disapproval. Earth's tactics might have worked at Kepler 442, but they had violated unwritten rules that the galactic powers held sacred. Wars were supposed to be fought in certain ways, with certain weapons following certain protocols. Everything was supposed to be civilized and predictable. The council species had spent thousands of years perfecting their way of war, and they did not appreciate newcomers who refused to follow the established patterns. It was all very organized and proper. It was also, Jake thought, completely insane. Council Prime Ralgeth spoke again, and his tone indicated that the discussion was ending. The council will take this matter under advisement, Ralgeth declared. We must discuss among ourselves what this means for the future. In the meantime, Earth is formally warned against further use of deceptive tactics in warfare. Should you persist in using such methods, we will be unable to consider your application for Council membership. You will be on your own against the Vrexians and any other hostile force. Do you understand? We understand perfectly, Admiral Carter replied. As the session ended and the human delegation left the chamber, Lieutenant Amy Barnes approached Jake with her datapad in hand. Her face was tight with worry. "Sir, we are getting reports from our intelligence network along the frontier," Amy said quietly. "The Vrexians are assembling a much larger fleet. Current count is 40 ships, including 6 dreadnoughts, possibly more on the way." "Do we know their target?" Jake asked. "Not confirmed yet, but our analysts think they are planning something big. The Compact leadership is embarrassed about what happened at Kepler 442. They want to make a statement. They want to prove that the first battle was just a fluke." Admiral Carter joined them in the corridor outside the council chamber. Despite the stern warning they had just received, she looked thoughtful rather than worried. "Let them come," Carter said. "We have been working on some new approaches, some new technologies. If the Vrexians want to try again, we will be ready. Admiral, with all respect, the council just told us to stop using our tactics," Jake pointed out. "They said we would not be accepted as members if we continue." Carter smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The smile was cold and calculating. "The council told us they will not accept our membership application if we keep using deceptive tactics," Carter said. "They said nothing about stopping us from defending ourselves. And until we are actually members of the council, we are not bound by their rules or their precious conventions. They cannot have it both ways." "That is a very dangerous game to play," Amy said. "We need allies in this galaxy. We cannot survive alone forever." "We need to survive first before we can worry about making allies," Carter corrected her. "Right now, the only way we survive is by fighting smart instead of fighting fair. The council wants us to follow their rules, but they offer us nothing in return except criticism and threats. The Vrexians want to destroy us, so we do what we must to protect our people." Jake nodded slowly. The Admiral was absolutely right. Earth could not win a conventional war against the Vrexian Compact. The numbers simply did not work in humanity's favor. But maybe, just maybe, they could win an unconventional war. Maybe they could win by doing things the galaxy had never seen before. The question was how far humanity was willing to go. How many rules were they willing to break? How much disapproval from the council were they willing to endure? Jake suspected they were about to find out. 3 weeks after the council's warning, the Vrexian Compact launched what they called Operation Inevitable Dominion. The name itself showed how confident they were. There was nothing subtle about it. They were going to crush the humans, and everyone in the galaxy would watch it happen. 42 warships assembled at the edge of the Tau Ceti system. Tau Ceti was home to Earth's second-largest colony world, with over 2 million human civilians living on the planet and in orbital stations. The Vrexian fleet included 6 of their newest and most powerful dreadnoughts. Leading the armada was Fleet Commander Korthax himself aboard his flagship Absolute. The Absolute was the newest vessel in the Vrexian Navy, and it was designed to be unstoppable. This time there would be no confusion and no hesitation. The humans would be given 1 hour to evacuate their civilians. After that, Tau Ceti would be bombarded until nothing remained but rubble and ash. "All ships report ready for combat," Korthax's second-in-command announced from his station. "Sensor screens are active and operating at maximum sensitivity. We are watching for any signs of their deception tactics. We will not be fooled again." "Excellent," Korthax rumbled with satisfaction. "The Council may tolerate such dishonorable behavior from these primitives, but the Compact will teach them the price of defying us. Transmit the surrender demand to the colony." The message was sent across all frequencies. The humans had 1 hour to abandon their colony or face total destruction. The countdown began. 45 minutes passed in tense silence. The Vrexian crews were alert and ready. They had studied everything that happened at Kepler 442. They knew about the decoys and the debris fields. They were prepared for every trick the humans had used before. Then human ships began appearing on the sensor displays, multiple contacts emerging. "From behind Tau Ceti's third moon," the sensor officer reported. "I count 32 vessels. They appear to be frigate and destroyer class. They are holding position in a defensive formation around the colony." Korthax studied his tactical display carefully. 32 ships against his 42. The humans were still badly outnumbered, but at least they were showing themselves this time. Perhaps they had finally learned that hiding and running would not save them. Perhaps they were ready to fight like proper warriors. When the hour expires, we advance in standard formation, Korthax ordered. All ships will maintain proper spacing. Shields at maximum power. If these humans want a real battle, we will give them one they will never forget. The final minutes of the deadline ticked away slowly. The human fleet did not move. They simply stayed in position around their colony, waiting. It almost looked like they were accepting their fate. When the hour ended, the Vrexian fleet began its advance toward Tau Ceti. They traveled exactly 4 light seconds before everything went completely wrong. Commander, we are reading massive gravitational anomalies directly ahead of our fleet, the sensor officer called out. His voice carried confusion and the first hints of worry. I do not understand what I am seeing. It is like space itself is folding and twisting. The readings make no sense. Explain yourself clearly, Korthax demanded. What exactly are you detecting? Sir, I cannot explain it. The readings are unlike anything in our database. It looks almost like artificial wormhole formation, but the energy signatures are completely wrong. There are dozens of these anomalies, and they are spreading, and they are... 6 Vrexian warships simply ceased to exist. They did not explode in balls of fire. They were not torn apart by weapons. There was no debris field or energy discharge. The ships were there one moment, and in the next moment they were simply gone. Vanished as if they had never existed at all. Where did they go? Korthax roared.
Find those ships immediately.
Sir, I am reading similar gravitational anomalies forming around the Sapphire and Vengeance. The anomalies are intensifying and 2 more ships disappeared. 1 second they were on sensors, and the next second there was nothing but empty space where they had been. Panic spread through the Vrexian fleet like wildfire. Ship captains started breaking formation without orders. They were trying to maneuver away from whatever invisible force was taking their comrades. But the strange gravitational anomalies seemed to follow them. The anomalies appeared and disappeared in patterns that made no sense. There was no way to predict where they would form next. All ships emergency hyperspace jump, Korthax ordered. His voice was tight with barely controlled fear. Jump to rally point Gamma immediately. Get us out of here now. But even that desperate order did not save them. As ships powered up their hyperspace drives and began to jump, some of them vanished in mid-transition. Their hyperspace signatures simply cut off as if someone had flipped a switch. One moment a ship was jumping to safety and the next moment it was gone. Not destroyed, just gone. In less than 10 minutes, the proud Vrexian fleet had lost 19 vessels. Nearly half their force. Not a single shot had been fired at them. Not one missile or energy beam. The ships had simply been erased from existence by forces the Vrexians could not see or understand or fight against. Commander Korthax, his confidence shattered and his pride in ruins, ordered a full retreat. The remaining 23 ships jumped to hyperspace and fled the system as fast as their drives could carry them. Behind them, the human fleet remained in position around Tau Ceti. They had not moved from their defensive formation. They had not fired their weapons. They had simply watched as the Vrexian armada tore itself apart in confusion and terror. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean on Earth, in a secure research facility that did not officially exist, 2 scientists watched the tactical displays with quiet satisfaction. Dr. Kevin Chen and Dr. Lisa Rodriguez had spent 15 years developing the technology that had just saved Tau Ceti. Now they were watching it work perfectly in actual combat conditions. The micro-wormhole. Generators performed exactly as predicted, Lisa said while making notes on her tablet. Spatial displacement averaging 11 light-years per event. The Vrexian ship should be scattered across 3 different star sectors by now. Some of them might be even farther away. How long before they can return to Vrexian space? Admiral Carter asked. She was monitoring the operation from Earth, and her voice came through the communication link clearly. Kevin checked his calculations on his computer screen. It depends entirely on where each ship ended up, Kevin replied. Anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 months for most of them. Some might have been displaced into unexplored space. Those crews will need to figure out where they are before they can even begin the journey home. It could take them years. What about casualties among the Vrexian crews? Carter asked. Did we kill anyone? Minimal to none if everything worked correctly, Lisa answered. The displacement technology was specifically designed to move the ships intact without harming the crews inside. We are not trying to kill them, Admiral. We are just making them go away. Far away? Admiral Carter was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a note of grim satisfaction. The Council does not understand what humanity's real advantage is, Carter said. They think warfare is about who has the biggest guns and the strongest shields. But our advantage has always been adaptability and innovation. While the Vrexians spent centuries perfecting their dreadnoughts, we were exploring physics and quantum mechanics. We were developing technologies they never imagined. How many more displacements can we perform? Carter asked. This technology must have limitations. We have 7 more displacement arrays deployed in strategic locations around our territory, Kevin answered. But Admiral, we cannot keep this up forever. Each displacement event requires enormous amounts of power. We drain an entire fusion reactor for each ship we move. The energy cost is astronomical. We do not need forever, Carter replied. We just need long enough to change the situation. Long enough to make the Council and the Vrexians take us seriously. After today, I think we are going to get their attention. The emergency council session was the most chaotic gathering in recent galactic history. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting over each other, demanding answers and making wild accusations. The news that 19 Vrexian warships had simply vanished during an assault on a human colony had sent shockwaves through every civilization in known space. Ambassador Fexler was practically climbing out of his seat with agitation. His mandibles clicked so rapidly they created a continuous buzzing sound. The humans have developed a weapon of mass destruction, Vexlar declared loudly. They have violated the Omega protocols. This technology they used could threaten every species in the galaxy. This is an extinction-level threat that must be addressed immediately. Council Prime Ralgith raised his webbed hands in a calming gesture, but his large eyes showed deep concern. We do not know for certain that it was a weapon, Ralgith said carefully. We do not even know what happened to those ships. The Vrexian reports are inconsistent and confused. Some say the ships exploded. Others say they simply vanished. We need facts before we make accusations. 19 warships do not just disappear into nothing, Ambassador Krell roared. His forearms gestured wildly in frustration. The humans did something and we need to know exactly what they did. We need to know if they can do it again. We need to know if we are all in danger. Jake Morrison stood in the petitioner's circle for the 3rd time in as many months. But this time he was not alone. Admiral Carter stood beside him along with Dr. Kevin Chen and Dr. Lisa Rodriguez. They had been summoned to explain what happened at Tau Ceti. The entire council wanted answers and they wanted them. Immediately, Selector Yaradhen's crystalline form pulsed with rapidly changing colors that indicated extreme agitation and worry. Commander Morrison, you will explain what happened to those Vrexian vessels, Yaradhen demanded. You will explain it now and you will explain it completely. The council requires the truth. Jake glanced at Admiral Carter, who gave him a small nod. They had discussed this moment during the journey to the council station. The truth was going to come out eventually. There was no way to hide what they had done. They had decided it was better to be honest and control how the information was revealed, rather than let speculation and fear run wild. Selector, honored council members, we used a spatial displacement technology, Jake said clearly. The Vrexian ships were not destroyed. They were not damaged. They were moved to different locations in space. The chamber fell completely silent. Then everyone started talking at once. The noise was deafening. That is impossible, someone shouted. Wormhole generation requires the power output of an entire star, another voice protested. The physics do not allow for such technology, a third insisted. Dr. Kevin Chen stepped forward and raised his voice to be heard over the chaos. We have been working on this technology for 30 years, Kevin explained. Yes, it requires enormous amounts of energy. Yes, it is difficult and dangerous to use. But it does work. We used it because the alternative was watching 2 million human civilians die. We moved those ships because we had no other way to protect our people. You weaponized spatial manipulation technology, Vexlar said. His voice was quieter now but carried an edge of genuine fear. Do you understand the implications of what you have done? This technology could be used to move entire fleets across the galaxy instantly. It could be used to relocate planets. It could be used to tear apart star systems. You have created something that could reshape warfare forever. Or end warfare altogether, Admiral Carter interrupted firmly. Those Vrexian crews are alive. Their ships are intact and functional. They are not dead. They are not injured. They are just somewhere else in space. When we help recover them, and we will help with that, they can go home to their families. Nobody had to die. Ralgeth leaned forward in his seat. His ancient eyes studied the humans with an intensity that made Jake uncomfortable. This explains many things, Ralgeth said slowly. This is why you favored mobility and deception in your original tactical proposals. You were not hiding because you were weak or cowardly. You were preparing for this. You were planning to change the fundamental nature of how wars are fought. We were planning to survive, Jake confirmed. The Council's warfare doctrine is based on species that have had thousands of years to perfect conventional military technology. You have bigger ships, more powerful weapons, stronger defensive shields. We cannot beat you at your own game. We do not have the time or resources to match what you have spent millennia building. So we changed the rules of the game entirely. You cheated, Krell growled, but there was less anger in his voice now. There was something else, perhaps a grudging respect. We survived, Carter corrected him. And we did it without committing genocide or destroying entire civilizations. How many civilians died in Vrexian conquests over the last decade? How many entire species were wiped out in your so-called honorable fleet engagements? We had the power to destroy those 19 ships completely. We had the power to kill thousands of Vrexian crew members. We chose not to. We chose to simply move them away from our colony. Selector Yarathen's colors shifted to patterns that the translation software identified as deep contemplation mixed with uncertainty. This changes everything about the balance of power in the galaxy, Yarathen said. If other species acquire this technology or develop their own versions, the implications are staggering. Wars could be fought by simply removing enemy forces from the battlefield without destruction, or this technology could be weaponized in ways we cannot imagine. Either possibility is deeply concerning. They will not acquire it from us, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez spoke for the first time. The physics involved are extremely specific to calculations we have developed over 3 decades. We have no intention of sharing this technology freely, but we are willing to discuss its use within a proper council framework. A council framework? Vexlar repeated. You are not even council members. You have no right to make such demands. Then perhaps the council should reconsider that situation, Admiral Carter said calmly. Earth has technology you do not possess. We have tactical approaches you cannot predict. We think differently than you do. Right now you see all of that as a threat to your established order, but it could be an asset instead. It could make the entire galactic community stronger. Ralgeth made a gesture with his webbed hands that conveyed careful thought. You are proposing membership in exchange for access to this technology, Ralgeth said. We are proposing partnership, Carter clarified. We do not want to conquer anyone. We do not want to build an empire. We just want to protect our people and our colonies. The Vrexians attacked us without provocation. We defended ourselves using the tools we had available. If we join the council, we bring our innovations with us. New technologies, new tactics, new perspectives that could benefit every member species. Or threaten every member species, Vexlar muttered, but his voice lacked conviction now. That choice belongs to you, Jake said. You can continue treating us like primitives who do not understand proper warfare. You can keep demanding that we fight and die according to your ancient rules, or you can accept that humanity might have something valuable to contribute to the galactic community, even if it makes you uncomfortable. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives considered the implications. For 18,000 years, the Galactic Security Council had operated on certain assumptions. Advanced civilizations were supposed to be predictable. Technology was supposed to develop along established paths. Warfare was supposed to follow agreed-upon conventions. The idea that a newcomer species could genuinely possess superior innovations was difficult for them to accept. Finally, Council Prime Ralgeth spoke. The Council will convene in closed session to discuss Earth's situation, Ralgeth announced. Commander Morrison, Admiral Carter, you will be informed of our decision within 3 standard days. That is all. 2 days later, the answer arrived. The Galactic Security Council extended an invitation for Earth to join as a provisional member. Full membership would be granted after a trial period of 5 years. The invitation came with conditions, of course. Earth would share certain technologies under carefully controlled circumstances. They would participate in joint defense operations. They would gradually integrate with some council protocols while being allowed to maintain their own tactical doctrines. But most importantly, the Council had finally accepted that there was more than one way to fight a war. There was more than one path to security and survival. When Admiral Carter reviewed the membership agreement in her office on Earth, a message arrived from the Vrexian Compact. They had recovered all 19 of the displaced ships. The crews were shaken but completely unharmed. The Compact was formally requesting a ceasefire and opening diplomatic negotiations with Earth. Carter smiled as she began drafting her response. The Vrexians had learned their lesson. You did not laugh at human tactics. You learned from them, or you found yourself very far from home wondering how you got there. Earth's journey to the stars had been difficult and filled with contempt from species that thought they knew better. But humanity had done what it always did when faced with impossible odds. They adapted. They improvised. They survived. And now the galaxy was learning that sometimes the newest voice had the most important things to say.